What's going on, everybody? Welcome on to today's video, and today we are taking out the Tenere 700 World Raid Edition. As you can tell, this is a demo bike from Branson's, so thank you very much for them for lending us this bike. Now, before I get into the meat of the video, I know what you're thinking: a bike like this deserves to be taken off-road. But unfortunately, insurance reasons mean I can't, so it will just be a road review of this World Edition today. Yamaha, if you want to invite me over to do a off-road review on this bike, please hit me up, so I would love to do that. This is my first time on the Tenere 700. Now, I've not done the standard or this one before, so it'll be interesting to see how I feel with this World Raid Edition. And the most obvious, biggest difference you can tell straight away is this has got twin fuel tanks. That's right, this has got 23 litre dual fuel tanks. Let's start off with the engine. In this bike, it is the same engine as the M207, so this is Yamaha's 700cc 4-stroke 2-cylinder Euro 5 engine, punching out 689cc. The layman's terms: 72 brake horsepower, 68 newton meters of torque. Now, on the Richter scale of stats and numbers, nowhere near the biggest numbers. The top bikes are punching out because they're pushing out near 200 plus brake horsepower. This bike isn't designed for all-out power on the road. This bike is designed for your off-road, gnarly D.S.R style racing. But as you can tell, it is more than capable of handling your Sunday rides as well. So, question of the day is: have you got the best of both worlds? Have you got an awesome road bike with the M207 engine, with the pure capability of doing some off-road style riding? Some slight changes from the M207 to this engine. Yamaha have increased all low-end torque, so every single gear they've increased the low-end torque on this bike. Moving on from the engine onto the electronics, this bike does not have a whole lot of electronics packed into it, and sometimes less is more. What do I mean by that? So at the front we have got the iconic 4 LED headlights. You see that coming down the road, you know this is a Tenere. Showing us our information, we have got a 5-inch TFT colour screen display. It does have phone connectivity, and that will enable you to read your messages and place your phone calls as well. Apart from that, there's not a whole lot of other information that's going to be utilised from the phone. It doesn't show turn by turn, and it doesn't show any sat navs. When you are stationary, you can go into the settings, and there are different themes of the bike. I've changed them over and I can't really see the difference at the minute, but throughout the day I will keep switching between them, and I'll see if I can tell whether they handle differently, whether it's a throttle response, engine braking, etc. But apart from that, there is no obvious rider modes. ABS is the probably biggest part for this bike. Obviously, as standard, does have full ABS front and rear. You can then change it to the middle ABS setting, so that's going to have ABS on the front but off on the rear. Or when you want to do pure off-road, you can turn the ABS off fully. Always make sure you turn it back on when coming back onto the road. It is nice to see below the screen, bottom right hand side, we do have a USB socket with a waterproof cover. So if you do want to mount your phone or your camera, you've always got instant power. Above the screen here we have got a bracket, so you can use that to mount either your GPS or your phone onto it. So it's right at the front, clear, you can see it. Not going to take your vision down away from the road if you do want to check the sat nav. On my GT I have got on handlebars, and I do find I have to drop my vision down to the handlebars so I can just see the phone. So actually having a mount like this up the top is going to be really helpful. Mirrors are actually pretty decent, no vibrations coming through them, and my shoulders only take up a small amount of the mirror, so I can see the road fully behind me. I don't know if you can see back there, but Zoe, she's taken out the XSR 700, so make sure you stay tuned for that video dropping very soon as well. So there's a bit of engine braking right at the start, and you do notice the front does dip. Obviously, to mitigate that, you just need to be smoother on the downshifts when you're coming off the clutch. Engine is really smooth though, on and off the throttle. The fueling is spot on. What's some of the main things about this bike that makes this the World Raid edition over the standard Tenere 700? As I briefly mentioned, and as you can tell, this does have the 23 dual-sided tanks, and then you do have to fill them up individually. There is a small hose connecting the two, so it will eventually level out after several hours, but if you are going to a petrol station, you're best off just filling them up both at the same time. This bike is tall. It's 890mm seat height. Is not for the short rider, I can tell you that. I'm 6 foot and I cannot flat foot both feet, and I've either got to be mindful when I'm coming to a stop or coming to a red light, just to make sure I'm not on any camber or anything like that. The way Yamaha have designed this two-part seat is very flat. Gives you the capability of really moving around the seat. Doesn't just plonk you in that one position. So if you are doing anything long distance, you can move around, change the pressure points on your bum. Just for reference, like I said, 23 litres. The standard Tenere has a 16 litre tank, so a considerable amount more than the standard. Before we move on to start talking about the suspension, with that tall seat height plus the suspension, means we're going to have a 230mm ground clearance. So plenty of ground clearance if you're going to start jumping things. Moving on to the suspension then, at the front we have got 43mm KYB front forks, giving us 230mm travel. Now with such a long travel, you do notice a bit of a dip, a bit of a dive when you grab that front brake. And we do have a piggyback style rear suspension, giving us 220mm at the rear as well. Once again, World Rally Edition has a 20mm travel more than the standard Tenere 700. This is not to say that the standard Tenere is a slow, short distance girl that can't do any off-roading, because it definitely can. This bike is just for the hardcore off-roaders in my opinion. The whole point of having the dual fuel tanks side by side, low slung, very similar to the 1290 Super Adventure S, is that it keeps that centre of gravity down low, so it handles really nicely at the top. The other obvious thing that will affect the handling of a bike like this, and especially when you are going off-road, is the weight. Now they've done a really good job of keeping this weight down, even with a 23 litre fuel tank. So this bike comes in wet at 220 kilos. Now that's pretty good for a bike that is designed for off-road. You definitely don't feel the weight when you're going around town doing the slow speed manoeuvring. Obviously being designed for the off-road, this bike has got dual knobblies on, and by that I mean knobbly sides that are designed for the road as well. We've got a 21-inch rim at the front and 18-inch at the back. These are great size rims when you start doing off-road riding. I just think all of it as a package, the wheels, the suspension, the weight of the bike, the way it handles, they've done a really good job setting it up to be an awesome off-roader. As you can tell, on road, absolutely no dramas. Very little vibrations through the handlebars, very little through the bum. It's nice to see, especially with a two-cylinder engine. Sometimes the vibes can start passing through the frame, handlebars and the seat, and it'll just give you a numb bum, and that's not what you need, especially on something that's designed to do the miles. It doesn't have an adjustable screen, so what Bransons have done is they've put a Yamaha accessory on the top, and this just flicks off that little bit of air, so you got to see zero buffeting on the helmet. Even though it has got a big tank forward of your knees, coming back into your crotch area is actually really thin, so if you are going to stand up, the tank isn't getting in the way. Get on the balls of your feet, and then you can just flick this side to side using the transference of weight through your toes, through the pegs. With that smooth throttle response, doing the throttle while standing up, it doesn't lurch you back, whereas some bikes, they'll be like this, pushing you back every time you go to accelerate. So once again, it just shows that Yamaha have thought about who's going to be riding it and where and how they're going to be riding this bike. riding this off-road, you are going to potentially have a puncture, and so this bike not only comes with a side stand, but it also comes with a centre stand, so you can then go ahead and if you do any chain maintenance or change that tyre that is flat. The next biggest and probably most important difference between this bike and the standard Tenere is going to be the cost. The standard Tenere has two main colours. That's going to be the iconic blue and then the black. Both of them coming in at £9,900. This bike in the black comes in at £11,800. So about an £1,800 difference. You decide, let me know in the comments box below. Is the £1,800 worth it for the extra stuff that you do get? More travel on the suspension, bigger fuel tanks. Is it worth it, or are you just going to stick with the standard Tenere? Helping us out with the immense power that this bike does put out, we've got an Öhlins dampener up the front. Looking at the handlebars, it is pretty simple. To the right hand side, we've got your combination kill switch, starter switch. Underneath that, you've got a jog dial, which is rotates up and down. That's for your menu, which you can do when you're in neutral or actually the bike is turned off. When entering the jog dial in like an OK on the menu option, I do find that I tend to roll it as I'm pushing in, so sometimes I then don't actually press OK, it just rolls to the next part of the menu. So it's not the best design for that, I personally feel, but hey. Left hand side, you've got your passing light, you've got your high beam, and then obviously your normal low beam, indicators left and right, horn, hazards, and then this here that says reset, and then the grey buttons does absolutely nothing unless you have your phone connected. So like I was saying, with the menu button, you can rotate through here, you can see the little jog dial spinning round, and that's just taking you through your standard, your odometer, trip A, trip B, instant fuel, average fuel, odometer, air temperature. If you hold it in, it does bring up as you may have seen there, traffic light went green, put it in gear, started pulling off, and then the settings menu disappeared. It's gone back to the normal screen. So on the left hand side, we've got the fuel. In the centre, we've got the rev range. Right hand side at the top, we've got the clock, gear indicator, what setting we're on the jog dial, so at the minute we're on coolant, and then your speed in miles per hour. As you can see, for me to get a foot flat on the ground, I have to have 1 foot on the peg. Remember, 6 foot, both feet on the floor, and they're going to tiptoes. No way I'm getting heels on the ground with both my legs down on either side of the bike. Because I'm not going to fill it up, I can pick either tank. There you go, both same engines. Look at the size difference in them. Huge! Oh, sexy mama! Let's try it again then. Hold it down. There you go, settings. So I'm going to try and push into settings. There we go. It's got maintenance, unit, brightness, clock, and then all reset. Next one down, you've got message and telephones, obviously that's if your phone is connected. Themes, this is what I was on about. Explorer, Street, Raid. So you pick one, none of them are highlighted. Pick one, push onto it. It goes solid grey like that and then comes off. But then nothing's different with the dash, so I don't really understand. Because it says theme and not rider mode, if it said rider mode, then you know, Explorer, Street or Raid, it would make sense. That's how you're going to change it. Because it says theme, to me that says theme of the layout on the dash, so I don't know. This bike is more than capable for being a decent on-road bike. For those that think 72 brake horsepower isn't enough, it is. For the UK roads, UK speeds, it is enough. Back there, nice flowing roads, and it's handled it, no dramas whatsoever. Even with these 50-50 tyres on. Which I must say, you can't feel the tyres are 50-50. I've been on knobblies before that were road legal knobblies. You could just constantly feel that rumble through the bike, through the bum of the tyres, but on this you can't feel that. Can't feel that at all. I do find with my seating position the handlebars seem a little bit out of stretch. I do find a little bit of strain on my back, but like I said, it's got that flat seat, so I can then just move my bum forward and then take that strain off my back. Another addition, as nice to see on this bike, it does have a crash protection underneath. So if you do start going off-road, there ain't going to be any stones flinging up, piercing anything down there, breaking the bottom end of your engine case. Pulled over to do a quick sound test and a little walk around the bike. That's what it looks like. Tell me what you think. Instead of just having a black at the front, it has got a camo black and then leading into the black centre tank. Obviously KYB forks, crash protection, centre stand. It's got the luggage rack on it, good to go. I mean, it's not a skinny bike. Look at those fuel tanks, pretty big. So let's start her up. I would agree, it does sound pretty gutless, but hey, I'm sure once you get it open in that back area, on the byways, in the desert, this thing will scream. Well, let's continue riding. As with all our first ride videos, they would not be possible without the sponsors of the channel. And today, Branson's, thank you very much for lending us this demo bike. This has been my first riding review of the Tenere 700 World Raid Edition. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We have finally made it over the 1,000 mark subs. Next milestone, 10,000 subs. Here we come. Remember, stay tuned for Zoe's XSR 700 video. Also coming soon. Until the next one, ride safe.